Hello, my dear people of Ambazonia, brave warriors of our liberation movement, my people of the southern Cameroons. Accept liberation greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro. Today is Saturday, and this Saturday is June 24, 2023. My apologies for coming, here this late for those of our people who are on ground zero, on ground one, and ground two. I know because it should be about 10 p.m. or thereabout at this point. I know you should be getting ready to go to bed, but I suppose you can spare a few minutes so we share this piece of information that I'm bringing here for us to have a kind of digest on. It's going to be a moment of, looking at the state of our liberation movement and seeing some of the ugly things that are going on, and so that my people together will strengthen ourselves, gird our loins, and continue to work as hard as we can to kick the occupying forces of La République du Cameroon out of our territory. That said, my people, I know our hearts are all bleeding because of what is ongoing in Kejom Keku and in Boyo. But again, just before I got into the studio, I was receiving information that in Ekona there was also ongoing carnage. And from the word that got to me, someone said already 10 people down. Said I might as well look up that very clearly to be sure about the figure. But you see, like I said, I don't have an authoritative figure, but yeah, it's a six down, a six down. That was about 7:27 a.m. Uh, Eastern Daylight Time when this piece of information came here, and it shows that that should have been in a neighborhood of about you know past 12. That's getting to 1 p.m. Amber time. So, I mean, it's a moment of sadness. It's a moment that none of us can really be so proud about because, as a matter of fact, we thought, and myself along too, that by this time La République du Cameroon would have known that the will of the people of Ambazonia is to go our separate ways. And that because we came together in peace, we could as well do it in peace and stay as excellent neighbors. Because this absolute separation is inevitable. It will come to pass. And there is nothing any of them can do about it. So it's a very painful moment. And I mean, I can't pretend that that I'm not grieved. I'm very seriously grieved, especially when I saw these images. And I asked myself, what's really come over us? When you look at this video, you see this Kejem Keko village emptying off. Just take a look at this.
Hey, Tobina un peu d'abord, avant que je raconte mon scénario. C'est vrai que la vie ne fait pas cadeau. Ouais, Papa Noël, ouais, son sac à dos. Mais même si le problème est dans ma peau, gaga, mon d'accord. J'ai décidé de quitter le mal, car tout ce que je cherchais, c'est lui qui donne. C'est Dieu qui a commencé, c'est lui qui va faire un miracle dans la zone. C'est Dieu qui a commencé, c'est lui qui ferme la bouche des Wakwatoul. C'est Dieu qui a commencé.
So those are our people in Kejom Keko, as you can see. The entire village is emptying up. Those people are abandoning their lives. They are abandoning their property. They are abandoning everything and running for dear life. And it didn't just happen. Someone invited this onto them. That is the fun of Kejom Keku, along with the bloody CPDM elite in Yaoundé. They invited this on our people in Kejom Keku. My people of Ambazonia, even before this mass exodus that you're seeing, prior to the first day that they burned homes and burnt people alive. Again, it happened. Yeah. Two other people were burnt again alive in their homes 2 days ago in Kejom Keku. Two. One of them was someone who was, impaired, was dumb and deaf, and with his brother who had also difficulties, moving, and they were all ambushed by the dogs of Latibutu Cameroon and burnt alive in their homes. All these happenings should make us recognize that in this movement, we have only a way forward. Only a way forward. Moving ahead is the hard way, but it's the only way. Because there is danger in surrender. That thought should not even traverse our minds. Because what awaits us is going to be too complicated. Like I said, all this happens because we allowed La République du Cameroon the chance and the opportunity to desecrate our tradition, to make nonsense of our tradition. The moment they started calling our forms the auxiliaries of their administration, it meant everything that it meant. And we can see the whole thing in operation. Because even as we talk now, there's likely going to be another horrible situation in Isu if care is not taken. That's in Isu in Menchum County. Why would there be such a situation? It would be because the colonial senior divisional administrator from La République du Cameroun is convinced that it is his birthright to appoint a form in Oku against our traditions. Reason he asked people to drop applications at his office. But the people have risen to the occasion and challenged him and said that is not going to happen. Even if it will happen over their dead bodies. And this challenge from the ESU community that has even given that SDO 2 months to let all the screws that might have been untied in his brain to get back in place are likely to meet with the wrath and the fierceness that we know in La République du Cameroun, that are determined to impose not only themselves, but even their way of doing things on us in our land. Painful as this may sound, it is real. This is not movie. This is the reality. And this is happening at a time our people have been agitating for at least 6 years and counting. I guess we're in the 7th year. If this can happen while the agitation is still ongoing, tell me how it will look like if we get to one morning and they say it's a surrender. I know none of us wants to think about that. But it is something we should think about each time we're taking a wrong move in this liberation movement. And that's why the colonial administration from La République du Cameroun would turn their ire. They would turn their eye on any form, any traditional ruler that decides to stay clear of their ongoing genocidal campaign in Ambazonia and embrace everyone as their children. Because even the self-defense volunteers who are fighting, they are not just fighting some kind of abstract fight. They are standing up to defend the community, to defend our land from the invading forces of La République du Cameroun. That doesn't make them to stop being the subjects of our various forms. Being the subjects of the various people put in place through ancestral means in our communities to reign over the destinies of our people. That is why a misguided SDO will be very frustrated and angry that the fun of Mbiame decided to stay in his lane, decided not to get involved, and then to go ahead and make fallacious claims just because of this video. that you can see. In this video, you are seeing the people of Biya out in their huge numbers to give their son a hero's welcome as he returns from the United States of America. And because the self-defense volunteers in that village know, in that community, they know what our tradition is. They respect the fun. They submit to the fun, not because the fun is a supporter of our cause, something he should even do because he is a Southern Cameroonian. He's an Ambazonian. The fact that he's a fun doesn't discount the fact that this is where he comes from. But this traditional sovereign simply removed himself from all of this and stays on his lane. But he will not chase away his children who join others to come receive him when he's returning from his trip in the United States, where he came to meet their other brothers and sisters who also how he was received in the United States of America. That tells you that this is a man of substance who listens to his people, and his people too listen to him. That's why the chemistry is so wonderful. But this is exactly what the colonizer never likes. The colonizer likes a situation where you are hated by your people and liked by them, then they now impose you on these people, and at that point, you do but their will, not the will of the people you are supposed to sit over in judgment in every other circumstance. So my people of Ambazonia, the battle before us here is very deep. La République is not just after our land. They are also after our traditions, our culture, our values. All they want to do is make sure they depict everything that's happening in our land as bad, and they have to be in control everywhere, because the next thing they will want to ask for is to be in control even of our households. Oh yeah, you want to get to a situation where a colonial divisional administrator will say if someone dies in a house and they have to appoint a successor in that family, he or she should be the one to come and determine who will be. That is the kind of thing that we're fighting against. That is the kind of thing that we don't want. That is the kind of thing that brought us to where we are in the first place. Yet, they appear absolutely unapologetic. Yeah, they appear absolutely unapologetic. They still bear in their minds that, oh, it's possible for them to, wreak some havoc on us to the point where we even literally forget where we are coming from. Let me be clear here. When you hear a colonial administrator come out and express anger that a fund did not show remorse when a brigade commander was deleted, a fund did not show remorse when a policeman was deleted by his palace, the fund did not come. This same person doesn't come to complain that this same fund too did not show remorse when the evil forces of La République du Cameroun brought down their children, brought down our children, because these self-defense volunteers are our children. They are our brothers. They are husbands to our daughters. They are parents too. They too have children. And so if they're standing up for the community, that doesn't make them no longer human beings. And I will tell you why. This is because La République du Cameroun has determined that whenever they are tortured, reduced seriously to rubble, all they need to do is turn their ire on the civilian population. That's why, when they were facing very tough times in Bafut, they decided to go and attack the palace of the Fon of Bafut. And they did that at least 2 or 3 times. In their minds, They said the fund was building magic potions or blessing the self-defense volunteers and empowering them to come after them. That's exactly the kind of thought pattern they build. Reason why they will get into a community and they ask, is there anybody here who is a traditional doctor? If they identify that you're a traditional doctor, they come immediately after you. And they say, because you're a traditional doctor, you have not rather come to fortify them. It's possible you are fortifying the self-defense volunteers. If you are not aware, this is what is going on in our land. I said here before that if you are a male, a young man, you are in any of our village communities, and you hear the forces, the colonial or occupational forces of La République du Cameroon are approaching, run for your dear life first. Because I said it here, if you are a man in Ambazonia, if you are not fighting, chances that you get wasted very, very quickly and very easily are high. Because you're not suspecting anything, because you feel that you're doing nothing. Because you think that you're not involved. But in the eyes of La République du Cameroon, you are a potential danger. They feel you may not be in now, but tomorrow you can be in. So preemptively, they kill you. This is exactly what is happening in our community. My people of Ambazonia. Sometimes when I come here and I raise some of these issues and talk about some of these things, some of our people say we are underestimating La République du Cameroon and overestimating our strength. Let me be a bit clear here. Let me be very clear here. When you hear the message from the colonial SDO regarding the fund of Mbiame, it's because he feels intimidated with this. So you see, it's because of things like this. They make them feel intimidated. And La République du Cameroon has been so tactfully hiding the true figure of their deaths, covering up when they have a massive attack and their people are brought down, killed, and everything. They try as fast as possible to pick up the remains so that no one sees them. That's why you see this question. Are separatists breaking back of Cameroon army? Now look, I didn't create this. This is a newspaper, a tabloid, published right in Yaoundé, capital of La République du Cameroon. This question doesn't just come up for nothing. It is because internal sources within the army of La République du Cameroon tell stories that are very scary of what is happening to them in real time in Ambaland. The level to which they are facing vicissitudes is extremely high. That's why they turn all their fire and their brutality on the local communities, on grounds, claiming that the local people not cooperating with them, not informing them about the positions of the self-defense volunteers, end up facilitating their being deleted. That is why they turn their ire, they turn their anger on the local population, burning homes at random, and then getting into the very unacceptable attitude of getting to targeted killings. I said here the last time, I even read a correspondence from one of our former members of parliament who made clear that this is because there are people among the evil elite. I call them evil, and I insist on the word evil. The evil CPDM elite. Because they sit and they now look at people who don't agree with them to settle their political scores. They give tip-offs to the B to the colonial forces of La République du Cameroon, that you see the people in that house, they're all supporting Amba. And the only thing that happens next is death. They set people out and say, you see, this family, their son is in the bush. The next thing that happens, the colonial military of La République du Cameroon comes in, it is death. They burn down the houses, they burn down the property, they burn down everything. Listen, my people of Ambazonia, they are doing that because of the fire, because of the stress, because of the pain that they are facing on our territory. Oh yes, they are not having it easy. The cost of occupation is going high, extremely high on a daily basis. And I have a teaser for us. Look at this. This is an armored car. What? Just some few years back, they felt so safe and so secure inside here. But now they themselves are telling people that entering this thing, by the time they get into it, no one can think or be certain about what happens to them until if you finally are lucky that you get back to your home and see your family, you begin celebrating. They call this mobile coffins. Like they call it in French, the word, because the expression that they use in French, the cercueil ambulant. My people of Ambazonia, it is because of our collective strength. It's because of our clear determination and it's because of our resilience that La République du Cameroon is yet to really settle down and tell themselves it is over. I really take this opportunity to doff my heart to the self-defense volunteers, to doff my heart to our people in the various communities that are in the line of fire on a daily basis for all the pains you're undergoing, running from your homes to the bushes, sometimes from the bushes back to your homes, or becoming refugees right inside your own homeland, right inside the land of our birth. Well, look at those people from Kejong, being able to barely carry a few dresses and whatever and run away. Where are they headed to? How are they going to survive? No one has an idea. Nobody. But does La République du Cameroon care about this? Do those wicked elites of the CPD from our land, do they care about this? All that matters to them is that they continue to maintain Slavic privileged positions to pick the crumbs from the table where Mr. Paul Biya and his Isingan group dine. This is why on a daily basis, I remind each and every one of us that we owe it as a duty to remain strong and resilient in this movement. We have a lot of individuals within our movement today who, by their activities, by their utterances, are demonstrating more than enough. And it's no longer even masked that they feel and are convinced that we are engaged on a path that's leading to nowhere. Either there are people who thought that it was going to be a quick fix, or there are people who feel that they were in with a motive to at some point begin telling us, look, we have lost. Look, we can't stand it. Look, we can't make it. Positive self-talk in these circumstances is fundamental in propelling us forward. I want to get on to what happened or what is happening in Paris as we speak. But I will get to what I'm really talking about after we watch this first image. Take a look. You definitely watch this video. That is Mr. Paul Biya. You see the way he's being guided there and instructed. Leave the leg here. Don't do this there. Don't do that there. And all of those things. This is the man who is supposed to be in charge of the war or of the genocidal effort that is ongoing in the southern Cameroons. Listen, folks, you see, this image you just saw, it's very important for one reason. I insist on one reason. There could be a lot of reasons, but for me, I summarize all of them into one. You call this marriage. You see, when they broadcast this image, and then this one too, just take a look. Here you find Biya shaking hands with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You look at both of them, you look at his face. I'm laughing because I said on this set over and over that La République du Cameroun operates on make-believe. For the 40 or so years, or the 41 or 42 years that Paul Biya has been president in that country, they don't live in a real world. They live in a world of make-believe. Yeah. So everything for La République du Cameroun is marriage. It's about the visual. Propaganda. That's what it is. This same Paul Biya, during the May 20th celebrations, the day La République celebrates the capture of Ambazonia, of our people, we are all aware that Android phones were forbidden. Android phones were forbidden at the ceremonial ground. And only CRTV, of all the television channels that are in that country, only CRTV cameramen were authorized to do the same. And when you watch the images, this was live. You see the presidential limousine arrive, but at no moment do you see when the president alights from his car and when he finishes reviewing the troops and climbs, walks onto the tribune of honor. At no moment do you see when he walks from the tribune the tribune of honor back into his car. All of this is deliberate because they know he is vegetable. We all saw it here in Washington, D.C., where the man didn't even know where he was. From his lips, we heard it all. But when events like this ones come, they have to do all kinds of things, pump all kinds of medication on him to resist those few minutes for the visual. It's important. I'm a communicator. Understand what I'm talking about. For the visual, it's important because they have to use that in making those who have very short memory and who have very little minds. They say, oh, look at him. He's very strong. He's very everything. He's so, because they know that in wartime, the visual is very important in communication. Yeah, in wartime propaganda. The visual is very important. When they present him as strong and everything and all whatnot, they communicate a message to those they consider the enemy, in this case to Ambazonians. And I was not surprised that some Ambazonians quickly fell for it, quickly decoded it, and could now go out to unleash diatribes. Because you see, I really, really often resist a lot addressing some of these issues, but it is important. I have noticed more and more to address them because some of our people really end up thinking this way without knowing how much harm they are doing either for the liberation movement or for those around them who should be supporting this movement, sometimes even just to themselves. Because when I was preparing to get to the studio, my good friend Christopher Mesner sent me a message written by Christmas Ebini, one doctor, Christmas Ebini, by Dr. Christmas Ebini. And he writes, my fellow comrade JMA must have made so many videos and so much money generating traffic on his YouTube channel announcing the death of Papa Paul Biya. Just like he did on the dumping of the bodies of the Nera 10 in the ocean and the predictions of the end of Yaoundé and La République du Cameroon with his well-connected inside information. Now, it's not done, but I just want to stop there before I go finish. Now, look at this. My fellow comrade JMA must have made so many videos and so much money generating traffic. This is somewhat a bit redundant because I've had to talk about this here before. And you see, this is the kind of thought pattern that has sent a lot of very determined people away from this liberation movement. Because perhaps they didn't have thick skin enough to withstand this kind of insults from very petty, mean minds like those of Christmas Ebini. They didn't have the opportunity, they didn't have the strength to resist it like some of us will do. Because this kind of perfidious thought, that doesn't move a liberation movement like this one forward. How can we progress in this movement if everything that we do, we think first of personal gain? Mr. Ebini doesn't think that it takes a lot of sacrifice for me to sit down, put together the material that I put to come onto this set, spend the time that I spend in this studio to communicate with the people, to share information, to sensitize people, to share educative messages, and to make it possible that we understand exactly where we stand. All he thinks is, I am making money. I got to this country in 2018, crash landed here, family of 5. Ebini was here. Ebini never picked his phone at any moment to find out that, but this Mbakuru lost his entire life because of this liberation movement and found himself here with a family of 5. How is he surviving? No. Perhaps he was expecting that I should die, or that I should be cooping somewhere in a shelter somewhere with my family, so he should be excited that yes, they're exactly where we expected him to be. Because for all the contributions that I make, all he sees is the traffic. I have bad news for you, Dr. Ebini. Listen, what I personally contribute financially to this liberation movement every month, this YouTube channel cannot give me half of it. It can't. Just so you know. And I invited Dr. Ebini to bring auditors to audit this channel. I have no response from anybody to do what I've done here. And I invite him to visit the studio that is used for this purpose. I see that even in the next 5 years, that YouTube channel will not pay what I invested here. Oh yes, YouTube is a channel, is a platform where people can make money. I'm a trained and professional journalist. I will definitely use YouTube to make money because that is even where my profession goes. But it will not be on the blood of the people of Ambazonia. I know how to make content that can bring me real views in real time. When you check here, 5,000 views, 6,000 views, 10,000 views, do you calculate how much does that give in terms of revenue on YouTube? That way it is worth the sacrifice? Sure, you don't have an idea what I should be able to make within those 3 hours or so that I set aside just to prepare, or 4 hours to come onto this set to do this communication. That's the perfidy that I'm talking about. We have lost sense of the spirit of sacrifice for the greater community. Dr. Ebini didn't realize or doesn't realize that on this same channel, I've been able to connect people in need with people who can help them. That's the social responsibility of such initiatives. It is this poverty of spirit that makes people like him become an obstacle and not an asset to this liberation movement. And he writes again, see, Papa Biya is even still standing, and people are dancing, drinking, and eating, and even trying to be happy, in spite of everything we may tell ourselves about them. When a nation is sovereign, it can be very resilient to challenges and fairly navigate through crucible and storms. Making wrong analysis that undermine the strengths of an enemy is in building false hope, and bravado can be harmful and deceitful. Master Ebini, I said a while ago that Dr. Ebini, I think you need to settle down and learn the art of war. Read Sun Tzu. Read communication in times of war. But if you don't have time to read, just watch CNN about Ukraine. Watch the entire Western media about the war in Ukraine. If you're going just by the count, the number be announced on this Western media of Russian soldiers that have fallen in Ukraine, you should tell yourself that the entire Russian army will be finished. Am I correct? Do you watch? Do you hear? Do you listen? I don't come here to talk wrong analysis. No. La République du Cameroon cannot stand it for long. And I give in this, I say things you can touch. When I tell you that the budget of La République du Cameroon has been confiscated by the IMF, and I kept calling month after month, call back home, find out, are they executing the state budget? Have vote holders received cartons? Those are things you can verify. Not talk about falsehood or misleading analysis or giving people false bravado. And just so you know, La République du Cameroon hides their debts for the same reason, to influence minds like yours. So that you think that, oh, they're all powerful, they're so strong. That is why when a paper like The Horizon comes up with this, it's not me talking. This is it. Are separatists breaking back of Cameroon army? Oh, yes. They're asking this question because they are beginning to get real information about what is happening on the ground. They don't get carried away by the mirage. La République du Cameroon is not stupid enough to come and settle down and tell you the truth of the weaknesses that they are facing in our territory. The truth of the difficulties they are facing with money. Did you hear recently, Mr. Ebini, that the same La République du Cameroon, which 2 years ago will go on the Western money market and launch bonds for 150 billion and will get 200 billion in CFA, and they'll say, no, we just wanted 150. But this time, the launched bonds for 250 billion could not get 150. Are you aware of that? They couldn't get it. Do you know what that means? Perhaps if you broaden your mind to become a bit critical, to begin understanding what these things mean, then you will get to know why this analysis makes sense. Sometimes we just get deceived because we place titles before our names, and we think that they mean that we know everything. But just move a little. All you just need to do is continue reading, continue studying, continue researching, and you will get that information. And now look at, this is the same man who minutes ago was moving there, was shaking hands, and then Ebini says he was there dancing, drinking, and everything until you had the feeling that this is the same man, Mr. Ebini. Those few minutes where all those toxins that are pumped in him to keep him up elapsed, that is a real man before you. That's a vegetable right before your eyes. Listen, folks, it's not only him, even his neighbor, same thing. And it's the same thing that the people are decrying in that country by people of Ambazonia. You definitely read the tweet by the former U.S. Undersecretary of State at the Bureau of African Affairs, Zatibo Nagi, when he said the people of Ambazonia will get exactly what they want. It will only be a matter of time. Did anyone read that? Please, can someone share that with Dr. Ebini? Tibonagi. He said that whatever the case, despite what is going on the ground, now the people of southern Cameroons will get exactly what they want. And what we want is independence. It's only a matter of time. False analysis too, misleading too. Is he also running a YouTube channel, gathering traffic to get money? Listen, folks, we must be very clear about certain things. When La République du Cameroun successfully gets someone down among our self-defense volunteers, sometimes because we don't know the names of all these brave hearts, sometimes even be someone that we have not even heard of very much. But the next day you see on all the local tabloids in La République, dreaded Amber General killed. We hear about some 16 folks we've never seen. Nobody has ever heard about them in Jan as being self-defense volunteers. News headline, 16 dreaded Amber Generals surrender into the DDR. Oh, they're really dreaded. But at that same time that they are saying all that trash, at the time those images are coming over, they're showing those people, armored cars like this one have been shot at on the ground. That same minute, none of those news organs will show it. None of those news organs will talk about it. When they get shot at like this, you ask yourself, what happened to the occupants? Intense. They end right there. Nobody talks about that. My dear brother, Dr. Ebini, nobody talks about that. That people can make sure they don't talk about that. Because that is what happens during wartime. They do everything to present a mirage to the enemy to make you feel that they are winning and you are failing. Because it has a psychological impact. It has a psychological impact. It can push you to surrender. Just as if you know your real strength, it can push you to fight on. And that is why this kind of communication, where we let the people know the realities, know exactly what is ongoing, know that what they are presenting before them is a mirage. You think when the government of La République du Cameroun votes a budget, 7,000 billion, they know they don't have the capacity to raise up to 3,500 billion. They are convinced that a good chunk of it will come in loans. They are convinced that even with that, they will not get it. That's why at the end of the day, they will make sure that it is 6 or 7 months into the fiscal year that they start sending out credit cards for people to execute. At the end of the day, the execution will be less than 50%. Oh, yes. But that figure is meant for people like you. That figure is meant to fool you, to make you feel that that economy is strong and resilient, despite all the holes. What development has gone on in La République du Cameroun since the genocidal campaign in Ambazonia started? What has gone on there? The Yaoundé Douala Highway that was sung in pomp, super highway, in pomp and ceremony, where is it? Even just the road, the super highway, supposed to link just in Simaland Airport and the city of Yaoundé, where is it? There's just so much more I can talk about. To let you know, these are facts. And the interesting thing about facts, they are stubborn. There's no way you can bend them around. Because some people who embark on a journey right now to try and tell people of Ambazonia, you see, or if La Republique gives us whatever La Republique gives us now, we should just accept because we are very disorganized, we are not able to do anything, they are so strong, we cannot win this thing militarily. Whoever said that we're going to win militarily? Who? Who said it? That we will win militarily? Just like La Republique du Cameroon has been informed several times over, they too cannot win it militarily. That's why I've talked here before of that time, the mutual hurting stalemate. When both parties will get to that mutual hurting stalemate, where both parties recognize that right now like this, we can't move anymore, we will all end on the negotiations table. That was something when I kept saying, no, it's not right to do this, not right to do that, I received insults because I knew there was not yet time. But good enough, we tried those experiments. Just perhaps to expose La République du Cameroon as a dubious party a bit more to the international community. Not only Thibault Nagy tweeted again, not only the Cohen, Ambassador Cohen tweet too, so many of them have tweeted and told La République du Cameroon to their faces, you cannot win this militarily. And I'm sure you will recall the last tweet where the same Thibault Nagy, who was a diplomat who has worked in Cameroon and knows our terrain very well, said, even with all our disorganization, our infighting, our everything, Ambazonia will be free in spite of us. I mean, talk of all this diaspora cacophony. Am I communicating? Did someone hear that? This is telling. So it is attitudes, thoughts, minds like that of Dr. Bini that caused Jonathan Swift to describe man the way he did. Because it's this perfidious kind of thoughts that all you see in others is hatred, is envy. All you see in others, it's just hatred, envy. Because in your mind, you do nothing for nothing. So they too cannot do something for nothing. That's why Jonathan Swift, in criticizing the British community, in a book he wrote way back in 1726, that's Gulliver's Travels. So in one of his most vitriolic sentences, Gulliver is describing the cruelties of British history and the British people to the king, to the giant king of Brobdingnac. And then that king declares in response that your natives are the most pernicious race of little odious vermin that nature ever suffered to crawl on the surface of the earth. It is this kind of minds. That we don't see value in others. That all we see in others, we only think interest. That's what makes Swift to say this. That man is from the pernicious race of most little odious vermin that nature ever suffered to crawl on the surface of the earth. And so let's visit the eating and drinking and dancing that my friend Ebini says people are doing in Paris with Pobia. Here we go.
Viva Moscou! Viva Moscou! Viva Moscou! Viva Moscou! Viva Moscou! Viva Moscou! Lâche le pays! Dans le pays de Biya, est-ce qu'il y a des routes? Non! Dans le pays de Biya, est-ce qu'il y a de l'eau? Non! Dans le pays de Biya, est-ce qu'il y a de l'électricité? Non! Dans le pays de Biya, c'est la Tika! Il y a certains tribus! Il y a certains tribus! Il n'y a merci! Nous disons
my friend Ebini, you can see people are dancing. Yeah, people are happy in spite of everything. They are dancing. Yeah, that's the dancing that is going on. Drinking, eating, and showing a lot of happiness. That's it.
Invité sur le sol français, pays des droits
Paris,
de l'homme,
this Paris.
le sanguinaire Paul Biya. Paul Biya qui assassine toute une population. Paul Biya qui a déjà fait 15 000 morts dans la guerre civile au Cameroun. Nous sommes ici pour crier haut et fort devant l'opinion internationale que M. Biya ne doit plus séjourner Monsieur Biya ne doit plus séjourner en Europe. Monsieur Biya est innocent. Monsieur Biya est innocent. C'est un criminel. Monsieur Biya, c'est un criminel. Donc nous disons ceci. Voilà les crimes. Voilà les crimes de Paul Biya. Voilà les crimes de Paul Biya. Jusqu'à aujourd'hui, on ne sait pas où est passé nos frères. Nos frères ont porté le
Biya doit dégager.
Yeah, so absolutely, those are the people eating, dancing, praising Biya, extremely happy, celebrating him, and that is him dancing with them. My people of Ambazonia, we have to guard our loins. We have to be deliberate about what we want. We have to bear in mind that victory in this liberation movement means continuing to raise the cost of occupation for La République du Cameroun. That is what it is. There is supposed to be no relenting. No relenting at all, not for 1 second, unless I forget. I said, and I insist, La République du Cameroun will get out of our territory. Whether the likes of a Bini like it or not, La République du Cameroun will get out of our territory. It's a matter of time. Just a matter of time. We must remain firm, strong, resolute, determined, and focused. You will get banana peelings like this ones thrown on your path because they want to discourage you, because they want to shut you down, because they want to break you mentally so that you don't contribute in making sure we send La République du Cameroun out of our territory. But we must remain firm. We must remain resolute. We must continue to look ahead until we get to freedom land, until we get to Biya, because victory is assured. That's why I say, a luta continua.